Yo, what's going on, man? Welcome to another edition of the Players Ball Podcast, where we cover all sports far and wide. It is day 4 of our week of content for the Super Week, and we finally wanted to get into the money. So we did none other than call the money man himself. You've seen him on Twitter all over the place. You've seen him on Sunday Morning Quarterbacks contributing to the guys over at Daily Bread Media. And it's the helicopter, man. I mean, what else can we say? Bullpen Bets is in the building, baby. How you doing, my guy?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Oh, look, man. It's so much to get into just in terms of narratives, and of course we're going to get into the gambling aspect, which is the main reason why you're here. But just in terms of narratives to start, you got a guy who was on your team this year, and he's now in the Super Bowl. So I know it hurts. I mean, that's the obvious answer, but how bad does it hurt to see Odell go and have this type of success somewhere else?
Fucking OBJ. I mean, this guy. I know. I'll tell you what, man. I'll be honest with you. I'm happy for the guy. I hope the Rams win. I hope he wins. I'm a big fan of OBJ. Coming into the season, he was one of the main reasons why I was so big on the Browns. I mean, I'm still finding Super Bowl tickets on them around the house that aren't no good. But I was really excited about, the season for Cleveland and OBJ.
Mm-hmm.
When he left, I pretty much knew it was over. I mean, I still had hope, obviously, and I still believed in the guys, but
Yeah.
he was our guy. I mean, he was my guy. Him and Chubb, obviously, but no, man, I mean, I'm happy for him. I mean, it does hurt, I mean, I got OBJ going against the Bengals, our division rival, basically. And then and then on top of all that, I got to deal with Chase and Burrow and all these guys for years to come. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm happy for all involved, right? But I mean, let's face it, things could look better as a Browns, coming from the Browns point of view. But
yeah.
I mean, we'll get through it. I'm still excited about the Browns, and hopefully OBJ does get his. I mean, I could see it happening. All the chips are in place. I mean, the Rams, they put the pieces together with Miller and OBJ, and they got Stafford. And so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, go OBJ. I mean, the guy has cost me money this year. In the third week of the season, I released my second ever helicopter money play after hitting the first one with Felton in week 2. And I was feeling it, after hitting that one. Well, he obviously let me down. It was on OBJ, and he let me down a lot, like pretty much all season long, right? So he's definitely cost me a few bucks, but we'll see if we can't get him back in the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, we should definitely get them back in the Super Bowl. We're definitely going to get to the props later on in the show, because I think he is, man, like, depending on, well, I can pull up his numbers now, but I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. Definitely just what the matchup calls for. But just to stay on the Browns, because you are a devout Browns fan, I still see people in Cleveland media trying to somehow give Baker Mayfield the benefit of the doubt. Now, you are probably one of the most objective Brown fans that I know, because all the other ones, again, are trying to find every excuse in the bag for your guy Baker. So are you done with him? Are you willing to give him one more chance this year? Like, how are you feeling going in the next season?
I mean, I'm definitely disappointed in his performance and just the way everything unfolded. Keenan come in, you're paying the guy big money. He was the second highest paid, backup quarterback in the league. And he comes in, he gets the job done, but they just continued to force Baker down our throats the whole season. Like, Baker wanted to play, and he just wasn't effective because of the injury, the shoulder. So I hate to just, throw him in the trash. I mean, I know that he looked terrible and he cost me some money too. So
Oh yes.
I mean, I'm not happy with him, but the injury was a huge issue. And let's face it, I mean, I hate to make excuses, especially for my own team,
Mhm.
especially when I had money on them. But
Yeah.
like it was just not their year. I mean, Hunt got
Mhm.
hurt, JOK got hurt. I mean, Ward was messed up. Newsome went. I mean, it was just one thing after another, literally. Like they had the worst run of between injuries and like Harrison got thrown out of a game, like in the second play of a game. I think that was week 1 against the Chiefs, maybe. I mean, things could have went a little better. When you win in the NFL like the Bengals have, things tend to go your way when you need them to. You know, and it's like that every year for a team. If you notice, there's always a team or two that kind of similar with the NCAA tournament. There's always a team or two that just kind of squeaks through, and then next thing you know, they win a couple games in the tournament. You don't really see it coming because
Mhm.
they're getting the rolls, they're getting the tips, they're getting the calls. You know, the injuries favor them. And then you catch that momentum, and that's kind of how the Bengals got here.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh tied a game with Detroit. Lamar Jackson went down. you know, Baker couldn't throw the ball over 6 yards. I mean, Roethlisberger was a disaster. And so, it just takes some luck sometimes for these teams to get through. And
Yeah.
obviously the Bengals found the end of the rainbow. So good for
Yeah,
them.
man.
Good for
That's
them.
That's great, bro. And you're obviously, been a Browns fan and been just a connoisseur of the AFC North in general for a long time. Like we're talking about the Bengals, man. The team that is so cheap. And I mean, I get it's named after the owner's father, so I'm not gonna discredit, but they don't even give up the naming rights. Like their scouting department is me and you. Like there's nothing that they have that is super over the top, gaudy, flashy, or just indicative of them being one of these, franchises that can get to the Super Bowl. And I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they were saying that from the 2019 roster, the only two people that were on it in 2019 that are on it now is Hubbard and Jesse Bates, and that's it. So this is a completely new team. It's filled with free agents. It's filled with rookies. It's filled with second year players. And it's kind of crazy to even, again, like you were saying, think that they could have caught this type of hot streak in the playoffs, especially with the teams that were playing in the AFC this year. So I did want to ask you, since he's in your division, like you were saying, and he's going to be there for a while, do you believe that? And I know he's not going to achieve these heights, but a lot of people say they see a lot of Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. And I wanted to know if you, just from a demeanor standpoint, whatever would have you, do you feel the same way?
I mean, I wouldn't go Tom Brady, just
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying, bro.
like
Like,
I don't know
damn.
about all that. I mean, let's not get carried away. I mean, maybe like man, I hate to compare him to any of the legends, but definitely not Tom Brady. Like he don't give me Tom Brady vibes. I do think he's good. I mean, he's good. He's played good. And he's got the receiving core. His offense was always there. The tight end.
Yeah.
He's got 3-4 receivers. He's got Mixon. That was never the issue with them. I figured they could score points. You know, where I start to doubt them and where I really devalued them was their offensive line, which is still an issue for them,
Mm-hmm.
and their defense. Like if you look at them on paper compared to any of the other three AFC North teams,
Oh, yeah.
you'd have them in four. I mean, their defense is, it's just not there. And going into the season, their kicker's phenomenal, but
Mm-hmm.
nobody could know that he was going to be that good. I mean, he's a young kicker. The guy looks great. I mean,
Been historically good, bro.
yeah,
Like, that's the
yeah,
crazy
like
shit.
you can't predict, like when you're capping that for future bet, like you can't. I mean,
Yeah, like, yeah.
so I don't know. I think they did good. I mean, they got a winner there for sure. I mean, he definitely looks better than Lawrence, at this point. Like, if you, not that it's Manning Leaf stuff, but it could be. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the best comparison I can get if you're saying he has Tom's demeanor, like in a focus type of situation, like work in silence, be humble, all that good jazz. But I think if we're talking about on the field stuff, I think the best comparison is Drew Brees. And I mean, that's his favorite player as well. He's surgical against zone. He's really smart. He doesn't have like a super cannon, but he can definitely push the ball downfield for whenever it's needed. So I would definitely say Drew Brees if I would have to compare him to anybody, just because I can see, stylistically that similarity. But like you were saying, man, I mean, really, if they continue to build onto this team, fix the offensive line, because again, if y'all, get any consistency and stay healthy next year, Myles Garrett is gonna eat them alive again. And that's just gonna keep happening. So hopefully they get that situation squared away or whatever. But
Yeah,
I
I
did.
would imagine they will have to address the offensive line. They're going to have to. They got that young stud quarterback. They're going to want to keep him around for a while. He was already hurt once. So, yeah, I would say that would be their main focus. And if not, it very well should be. I mean, they should
Yeah.
definitely stack the offensive line up for sure. Got to.
Now, I know this wasn't on our sheet, but I did want to ask you because I just thought about it with the coaches too. Zach Taylor and your coach Stefanski. Which one would you rather have?
Again, coming into the season, there was no question on this. Like, it was
Yeah.
Stefanski for sure. I mean, he had all the, like he was the next big thing in my eyes. But I mean, right now, I still don't love the Bengals coach. I think he takes him, and I mean, there's a few of them that I'm just like, some of these newer coaches that are, playing the numbers, I guess, and allegedly they're making the right calls, but
Yeah, so they say.
right. Like, some of the stuff, like, I seen the Chargers go for it on their own 30. On their own 30. It was like 4th and 9. Like, what? Like, I've seen some weird shit this year. This
Yeah.
past NFL season. There was some wild shit going on for sure. Like, every week something just blew my mind. Like, what, they did not just do that. Like, yeah, they did. They did it.
Yeah, bro. And it's all in the name of analytics. It's all in the name of the numbers. And look,
Crazy.
we're gambling guys, so we love the numbers. Like, we
Love
know
it.
that there's value there. But at the end of the day, it's like, bro, sometimes logic has to take over, bro. Like, it
Man,
just
and
has to.
we're just not used to seeing it. Like, we're used to the old school, Dick Vermeil, Don Shula. Like, these guys would never do some of this shit that these guys are doing these days, right or
Yeah.
wrong. And as always, if they make it and they get it, they look great and it works out great. But man, you want to talk
Mhm.
about just destroying some of your bets on some of this shit. Like,
Oh my God. Yeah.
and then another thing that I noticed this season was the 2, the 3, and the 4 points. Like, such a big difference. In the past, the 1 point spread or a 2 point spread, like, you wouldn't hesitate. You just wouldn't hesitate to lay that. Or if you were gonna take the 2, you'd just take the money line. This
Yeah.
past season, more so than any other that I can remember or recall, you needed to take those 2 points. There was so many
Yeah.
games that came down to 1, 2, and like, getting the 3 points this past season was worth more than 3 points in the past season. It's just
Oh yeah.
that many games came down because of these guys missing all these extra points. Like, I don't. It had to have been a record this season with
Oh my
missed extra.
God,
The
bro.
kickers cannot make. I mean, these guys cannot make an extra point. And then, like,
They do.
between that and just all it causes for some funky scores, and like, so if you're getting 1.5, I would take that 1.5, like, according,
Oh yeah.
going in the next season. That's something that I will remember. Like, I'll be all over that. If I like the dog there, I'm going to take the points rather than the money line. And if I like the favorite, I'll probably take the money line instead of laying the 2.5, just because
Mhm.
I've seen so many fucked up endings this year.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, when you have allegations, we won't get into it, but allegations of, owners saying we'll give you 100K to lose games, like this is definitely gonna change the entire landscape, bro. Like, to be honest, it is.
Yeah, and I think that, as a gambler, you, you can't really take that in, like you can't really get into that or think about that. Like you
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
stick to your system. You can't be over here with a tinfoil hat thinking that everybody's on the take. And and
Mhm.
and truth be known, who knows what's going on between the colleges, the pros, the Pete Roses, whatever. Like we had the cat in San Jose betting everything, and
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? You know what I mean? One of the UFC guys won a fight Saturday and came out and gave out a shout out to some, either a sports book or a tout or something. Like, who knows what's going on? But what I've learned is you just cannot really focus on that because it doesn't pay. Like you're not going to find out that the ref's on the take, or, like, so you just got to kind of do your thing and stick to your thing. And if there is shady shit like that going on, hopefully we're on the right side of it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's all
Exactly.
that's all you can do with it. I mean, really it is. I mean, that's the way I see it anyway. Some other guys might have a different opinion, but there's always shady shit going on in any industry,
Mhm.
whether it's, I mean, you name the business, and there's shady shit. So to
Yeah.
think that there's not shady stuff going on in the NFL or any of these other leagues or players, or, they all have side shit and vested
Mhm.
interest. And, you can even look at like congressmen. And I mean, it goes all the way down to your math teacher in 8th grade. Like everybody's connected. Like, I mean, so it's tough. I mean, you just really can't, I try not to focus on that. I mean, does it suck? Sure, but it's life.
Yeah.
It's reality, and
Mhm.
I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, everybody's on the take.
Yeah, but it's gambling. I mean, it like you said, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be outside influences that may not be like necessarily just like wrong, or just a guy might have got drunk the night before and he has a bad game. Like it's just that's human life. Like we all get drunk on the weekday that one day, and then we're at work like, oh shit, like I shouldn't have done that. Like we've all been there. So we gotta allow for human error to, what I'm saying, be a part of our situations and our scenarios. But I definitely did want to get into, since you were speaking about the spread, I mean, it's still -4. It's probably -4 everywhere since it's the Super Bowl. It's pretty much universal. I want to take the Bengals here, but I also am feeling like the Rams could cover it. Do you have any particular lean on it now? I know we're still a little bit early. We got a couple days, but what's your feeling just specifically with the spread?
Um, it's probably it's probably right on. I mean, the Rams will
Oh
probably win by 4 or 5.
yeah.
Knowing the books, 3 or 4. I don't know. Um, I generally don't bet a lot on like the side on the on the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
There's so many prop bets and other
Right.
options that I'll dissect into. I do like the Rams though. I mean,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, I do too, but I'm hesitant because 4 is one of those key numbers where it's like it's purgatory. Like you were saying, it's like from about 3 to like 5.5. It's kind of like it's sticky territory a little bit.
yeah.
So that's why I personally as well am gonna stay away from the total. I mean from the spread, should I say. Like you said, just in a game like this, bro, like Vegas knows that everybody who doesn't necessarily even know how to bet, which is what the Super Bowl is. There are going to be tons of new bettors betting for the first time on Sunday, and they're going to assume, oh, I like the Rams. They can win by 4 points. Like that's easy, like or 4 or more. Um, so Yeah, I definitely feel like with all of the props that are here, like it's so much more you can be eaten out here. Like I'm looking at this one, which, and you tell me how you feel about this. My favorite prop, and our guy Jude agrees with me, is T. Higgins because he is going to be guarded pretty much the entire game by a receiver that's like 5'7". I mean, not a receiver, a cornerback that's like 5'7". So let me see what his number is at. But I expect for him to have a big game. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey probably is going to cancel out Jamar Chase. Maybe Jamar has, his bright spot still. But I mean, if you're giving me T. Higgins, it looks like at 71.5. That's advantageous. Minus 114. I like that. How about you?
I mean, it sounds good, especially if the Bengals get behind like they do. I mean, and that's how the Bengals have been winning. They've been outscoring these teams. They know their defense, even though their defense has showed up when they needed them to here recently, and
Hmm.
down the stretch also of the season. But they can be had, and I think they'll be playing from behind like they were 2 weeks ago. So
Hmm.
I would imagine they'll throw it. Mixon hasn't looked great, and he had a pretty good year, but it goes back to their offensive line, obviously. But he just hasn't looked good. Like he's limping off the field a lot, and you know I I'm not real big on him in this game on Mixon. So I would imagine that Burrow's going to chuck it quite a bit. I
Hmm.
think that the Rams are gonna get a lot of pressure on him, and I think he's gonna be in for a pretty long day, really.
Yeah, bro. Like, and this is the thing. And, obviously you watched the Super Bowl last year too. And we were saying the same thing. It's like, oh, it's Patrick Mahomes. Like, we don't care that he just lost three offensive linemen 3 straight weeks. Like, it's fine. He'll be okay. He'll figure it out. He got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey. And you saw even the Bucks D line, which they have great players. Maybe not Hall of Famers. Maybe we can say that for another show to debate it. But there is no questions about Von Miller and Aaron Donald going into the Hall of Fame. That is happening, my people. And I mean, just to have the best defensive line you're going to face literally probably all year, in the biggest game of your life. I just, again, bro, like I was telling you in the waiting room, like everything is pointing towards the Rams, like everything.
Yeah, I mean they got all the veterans. They picked up Von Miller. They went and got Stafford. They went and
Hmm.
got OBJ. You know they got everything set up. They definitely have advantages in pretty much everywhere I look. I mean from everywhere basically. I mean
Yeah.
at this point you even have to. I mean I know Stafford can be a nightmare, and I know, like, I trust me, I get it. But at
Hmm.
this point, like, it's a push at least. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think Burrow's got an edge on Stafford in this particular spot. Now, I'm not
Hmm.
saying that, I know Burrow's, you know, I'm not saying Stafford's better than Burrow, but
Yeah.
in this game in LA, like, it was loud the last game in LA. It was loud, and half those fans were Niners fans.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
you're gonna have more Rams fans. It's gonna be loud.
Hmm.
You know, the offensive line's gonna fold
Yeah.
for the Bengals, and you got to give the coaching edge to the Rams.
Yeah, for sure. Like these.
You got to give the defensive edge to the Rams. You know, offenses are probably. I mean, you could probably give it to the Bengals, but
Hmm.
by how much? I mean, they got Cup and OBJ, and I mean, come on. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
even know if that's the case. I mean, OBJ, as good as Chase is, and I mean, the kid's been outstanding. He's still
Hmm.
got a couple seasons to go before you start putting him in the OBJ category. I mean, OBJ's done it on the field for seasons and seasons and seasons and seasons, and
Exactly.
he's still around.
Hmm.
So, and kind of the same deal with Burrow and Stafford. Stafford hasn't won consistently but here he is. And
Yeah.
he's paid his dues. I just feel like the Bengals need to pay their dues. Like, I don't think that you can just come in and win the Super Bowl. I mean, very rarely does that happen.
Yeah, bro. And like I was saying before, like look at all of these, if you believe in this as a viewer, these outside narratives. You have Odell who was scorned, goes to the team to the Super Bowl. You have the team who is moved to the biggest market in America and doesn't have a real fan base. So you're giving them the Super Bowl at home to potentially boost that fan base and give them a championship. Cooper Cup tore his ACL the last time when they paid the Patriots, so he never got to play in the Super Bowl before. You obviously have the Stafford narrative and everything. So, and McVay as well. So again, bro, it's just a lot of things that are just directly pointing to the Rams. And in terms of, like you were saying about the offenses, I think the determinant on what offense is better is what defense is going to get more stops consistently. And again, like you were saying, I'll put my money on the Rams to do that.
Yeah,
So I just,
I agree. And with these two teams, something that a lot of people kind of overlook sometimes is it's almost like the college with the SEC and the Big Ten and these conferences, these divisions. The NFC West. I mean, that is, you had Arizona, San Francisco, and the Rams make the playoffs. These teams are battle tested coming into this. Unlike some of these other teams where like Dallas is playing like Division II college teams half the year. For real. Like
no, for real.
And same can be said with the Bengals. Like they had to play, even though the teams were banged up, like that AFC North is not a fun situation. Like you got Lamar Jackson running around, Chubb, the Harris kid with all the Claypool and all them dudes. Like it's a tough division, and they play physical football. And the Bengals were battle tested. I mean, they ended the season 10-7, I think. So they barely made it through. I mean, all them teams, like it took up until the last week to even decide who was going to win that division. Like, so I just think that those teams have an edge against these weaker division teams. And as you can see, they're both in the Super Bowl out of those two divisions. And it totally makes sense to me. Now, I didn't necessarily know it was going to be the Rams and the Bengals, but I could have very easily seen it being like Arizona and Cleveland. But, nevertheless, there they are, and here it is. So it's just something to think about when the Packers, they beat up on Detroit and Chicago and Minnesota's sad ass. And then, and they looked phenomenal. Rodgers is back there with the hair going, and you know what I'm saying? He's all cool and shit. And then, and he looked unbeatable. He really did. Like, and the books had them favored. Like one of these warm fucking city teams are going to have to go to Green Bay and beat, Rodgers. And it just did not look like it was going to happen. But they ran into the NFC West team, went out there and roughed them up a little bit, and they just wasn't used to that because Detroit wasn't playing like that. So
not at all.
You can just kind of see how that works, and I feel like it's similar to the college where, you get these SEC football teams and, they're 5-5, but when they go play somebody soft, they just smash them because they're just not, used to the competition. I mean, and I just kind of feel like that happened. I kind of feel like I still didn't see the Bengals making it no matter what. Like under any circumstance did I see the Bengals there. I mean, obviously the Rams were on everybody's short list, especially when they started going out and picking up all these dudes,
Yeah, exactly, man. That was key. That was, I mean, and again, if your franchise is in the position to go win now, if you have the quarterback, you have the coach, you can mortgage a little bit of the future to go ahead and get it now. I mean, especially with players again like Aaron Donald, who we know are going to be Hall of Famers. Like you just have to go get that. You can't pass up on it. So I know we've been talking a ton about the defenses, which gets us into our second to last question. I am liking the under a little bit more and more as the days go on. It's at 48.5. And I'm a little scared of it because I figure that everybody is going to be hammering, I'm saying the over. But I do see a similar situation where, and look, the Rams had trouble scoring in that Niners game too. Like they had to use a second half surge, pretty much a fourth quarter surge to win that game. So I could see the under hitting in this situation. Are you on the same boat or are you liking the over more?
I haven't decided.
Mhm.
And again, I expect these lines to be pretty sharp. So I wouldn't doubt if it didn't land on 48 or 49. I
Mhm.
think that they're pretty tight on this, but the Bengals were, I forget the numbers, but they were shit in the red zone as far as scoring touchdowns.
Mhm.
So, and with the Rams defense, I could see them having problems scoring. I mean, obviously they've had these issues all year. So
Yeah.
I see it, and they got the kicker. So I think they're
Mhm.
going to score quite a bit of field goals. Actually, if you want a prop, I'd say over on that kid's field goals.
Oof.
I didn't check it. It's probably 1.5.
Let me
I
see
don't
if
know.
it's out here.
I don't know the odds or anything, but I think he has 2 or 3 field goals at least. The Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, look, he's again, like you were saying, like there's no way you can just cap, oh, the kicker is going to be really good this year. He's going to not I don't think he's missed a field goal over 50 yards all year, like which is
Oh,
insane to think
he's
about for a
good.
rookie.
He's good. He's definitely
Hmm.
good. So I like that. I like that prop. So and so if you take that into factor, if you think that they're going to keep him out of the end zone for the most part, so how many touchdowns do the Bengals score? One, maybe two, and then they kick two,
Hmm.
3 field goals. Yeah, I was thinking that they might only get one touchdown in this game, and I
Hmm.
haven't locked anything in as far as these bets go. And I'll
Me
have
either.
I'll have my whole slate. I'm going to give out my whole slate on Sunday morning QB Sunday. So,
Hmm.
I'll have 5 or 6 plays that I actually bet on. Um, but I do like the over on the field goals for the Cincinnati kid, and I was leaning under really because I think that they're going to keep him out of the end zone. I do,
Hmm.
and the Rams, you've seen it. They'll get the lead and they'll try to sit on it. They don't like
Hmm.
get excited, and sometimes these teams kind of get back into the game because of that reason. But
Yep.
I see them doing the same thing. I think they're going to get the lead and they'll kind of run the ball and mess around and try to get
Hmm.
out of there with the Super Bowl trophy. So I don't see them doing nothing crazy. Now, if they get behind or if they start to struggle like they did a couple weeks ago, they did the flea flicker, and it was a
Hmm.
huge play, totally unexpected, totally successful, changed the game, probably won them the game.
Yeah.
I do think that they have something like that in their back pocket. I even thought about that. Like I was looking at Odell. Like, he's thrown a few touchdown passes. So if the offense gets stagnant, I could see him doing something like that, some kind of trick play just out of the blue where nobody expects it. Because it worked last time and the Bengals won't be expecting it either.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if they get in a rut like they did against, but I don't expect them to. I don't expect them to get in a rut. I think they'll have a good game plan. I think they'll come out here and do what they need to do. There's plenty of places in the Bengals defense to get exposed.
Yeah.
So then it comes down to Burrow outscoring them like he has been to win a lot of these games and he's done a good job at it.
Hmm.
But does he have one more inning? That's the thing. And then
Hmm.
you add that with their kind of struggles to get into the red zone over, and I don't know the numbers. Like I don't have them in front of me, and I look at so much data every day. Like I get confused on what's what, but
Hmm.
I know for sure that they were struggling with getting the ball in the end zone, and
Oh yeah,
and
for
they
sure.
and they won anyways. So give them credit for good coaching, the kicker. There's special teams, a lot of factors into that.
Oh yeah.
But
Well, and bullpen, real quick, just to put it in perspective, do you know who's given up the most yards in the playoffs this year?
overall,
Mm-hmm. It's
I
one of these
don't.
two. It's the
I
Bengals.
don't. Bengals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And that's the
yeah,
crazy thing.
that makes sense because the Rams defense is a little more solid, and like I said, Burrow's been outscoring these teams. Now the
Mm-hmm.
Bengals
Yeah.
defense stepped up huge in the second half against the Chiefs to give them a
Mm-hmm.
chance to come back and get that. But again, though, I mean, they had no business winning that game after that first
At
half.
all.
Like that was terrible. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was, it shouldn't have happened, and it did. And you got to give them credit. You got to give them credit. They did it. The coach, the young coach, the gunslinger, the guy that's out there calling all this crazy shit. Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's a feather in his cap. So I still think though the Rams with the experience they got the home field is just huge in this. Like to
Yeah,
be
bro.
at home, like they're gonna be in their own dressing room and sleep in their own bed.
Practicing, yeah, at their own facility, in their own locker room, everything.
Yeah, man, that's a tough thing to overcome as a
Mm-hmm.
Bengal. And Burrow's gonna be fine. I'm sure he'll be fine. He's gonna get pressured. I think he throws a pick.
Oh yeah.
I think there's a lot of sacks. I think it's a lot of field goals. I don't know. Probably will stay under.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a good game overall. Like I think we're going to have a lot of action in it, which is why I'm not really worried too much about like entertainment value or anything like that because both teams have been entertaining all playoffs. So I definitely think that trend will continue. But I did want to go ahead and wrap it up with you. But before I did that, we need your prediction, like every other guest this week. I need a score, and then I need your Super Bowl MVP.
Well, I'm betting Odell Beckham Jr. for Super Bowl MVP.
Ooh, okay.
And there's a couple of reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason why is because I can't get no good odds on Cup or Stafford.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, but he owes me money. Like I had a really good season in the NFL. Like really,
Uh-huh.
really, I got really lucky, very profitable, lucky, lucky, lucky.
Oh yeah, me too.
Very, very fortunate. But one place where I lost money, believe it or not, was Odell Beckham Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many units, 3 or 4 units he cost me. Baker's cost me a couple units on rushing props. So them
Mm-hmm.
two guys, like if there was a sour spot it was them. And as a matter of fact, the quarterback props after like week 3 or 4, I quit doing them altogether because
Yeah, bro.
I was losing one every week. I was like,
Mm,
you know what? I'm just gonna
it's
scratch
not even
these.
worth it. Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna go with Odell. I think I seen him at 27-1 Super Bowl MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Final score. I'm actually looked into betting a couple of these too because the odds are astronomical.
Yeah.
So if the Bengals get a touchdown and 3 field goals, so it's 16. I don't know, 16-31, 16-33. That would put
Ooh.
us right at about 48, somewhere 47, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I was looking at those numbers and they're astronomical, obviously, like 240-1 or just
Yeah.
something crazy. But as I kind of play the game out in my head and get into it as the weeks go by here, that we got so much time built up,
Oh yeah.
you get plenty of time to think about it. And obviously I shift off and go to, other things like golf. Tonight I'm working on golf, but
Mm-hmm.
it just seems to me like that's how it's going to play out. I mean, am I crazy or how's that sound? Like 31-16? Like, how's that sound to you?
Look, it could be that way because I really think even though the Bengals will have the advantage in some areas, I think the Rams defense has shown us this year that they can be physical, at least in the playoffs. They've shown us that. I know that wasn't their, strength during the season because, McVay's a more finesse guy. He's not the,
Yeah.
like you were saying, old school coach type of guy who's going to just smash you in the mouth. So, no, I really think, and I have full confidence that Odell will have not only a good game, I think he might have 100-yard game. I wouldn't be shocked because Hilton is a great slot corner for the Bengals. I think even though he's not going to completely shut down Cooper Kupp, no one has this year at all. I think he's going to definitely do well.
Well, and I think there's a couple different ways Odell could get there. They could run some reverses with a reverse with him. He can run the ball. We've seen it, and he can throw the ball. Remember,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So what if he goes, 5 for 56, a receiving touchdown, a passing touchdown? And I know that sounds far
Mm-hmm.
fetched, but that's the kind of shit that happens. Like
Oh,
when
oh
you look
God,
at,
yeah.
yeah, like and that's how you win bets like that. Like, you look at his projections and, he's projected around right at the number of his prop. So,
Mm-hmm.
and usually they're pretty accurate. A lot of times when you hit stuff like that, it's by a half yard or a yard. one way or the other, but they're pretty good with those projections. But that's how you exceed those projections, though. He gets a couple carries, he throws the ball, whatever, something funky. And
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
how you win a bet like that. He is a longer shot, he's 25, 28 to 1. I mean, so you have to realize that when you're betting something like that, obviously Cup and Burrow and some of them other guys have a lot better chance of being the Super Bowl MVP.
Hmm.
But with me thinking the Rams are going to win, that automatically just excludes all of the Bengals.
Oh yeah,
So,
of course.
you know, and then unless the defender does something extraordinary, like Ramsey goes just pick six and a sack or just something, unless somebody just does something extreme,
Hmm.
I don't see a defender winning it, unless they just absolutely have to give it to one. So
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
it really breaks it down to Stafford, Cup, Higby, depending on his health status. Is he going to
Hmm.
be in there? Can he play? Is he effective? What's going on there? But I think the odds and the best value is OBJ as far as like a guy that can actually win it, and you're getting decent odds. That's where it's actually worth betting. Some of these guys, you it's just the odds aren't there. The value's not there for me to bet something
Yeah,
if I can't win any money on it. I mean,
yeah, it's just not worth it.
yeah, like
Especially if you can lose.
some of these touchdown props and stuff minus 115 and shit. Like I'm not saying I've never done it before, but very
Mhm.
rarely
It's
would I
got to be
bet.
a running back or some shit like that. Like,
But yeah, very rarely would I bet something like that. I there's no value there for me.
yeah,
Like
at all.
yeah, you might win, but you're paying for it. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
you really are. So, and I know that say, there's no juice when you win. Yeah, there is. There's juice,
Yeah,
and you could
it's still
lose. So,
there.
yeah, like, well, there's no
That's
juice if
true.
you win. Yeah, well, we don't win all the time. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
That's
not a
the
big
other
fan of
part.
the juice. We try to stay away from that
Mhm.
shit.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely gonna be breaking down this slate like for hours and hours starting on Friday. But I want to thank you for coming on this show with us and breaking it down with us. I know as a Browns fan, like I said, it's not easy to see a team from your division in the Super Bowl. I get it, but I appreciate the knowledge, appreciate the constant work, man. You've definitely been going hard this NFL season. So please let the people please let the people know, should I say, where they can find you.
Well, Sunday you'll find me at Sunday Morning QBs.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna go live, and we'll all have some plays. Some of the best cappers on the internet.
Hmm.
We got guys from every team, almost every team, and they'll have good content. Like they'll have good plays. They'll all have plays, and I've been tailing a lot of them, and they're pretty good. So they're still around. So if that tells you anything, we're still
Yes,
here.
sir.
So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But yeah, I'll be on live with those guys, and we'll all have picks. We'll all have winners. I mean, hopefully everybody wins a bunch of money. Tune in. Other than that, if you need help, I mean, you can find me on pickcity.com. The packages are available. You hit me up. I mean, I'm willing to help you out, whatever. But that's the deal. Hit me up on pickcity.com and we'll win all the money.
Yes, sir.
That's
Look,
what we
it's
that's what we do.
it's here, and trust me, y'all need to follow him on Twitter. I'm putting his Twitter name in the video right here because he has the best promotional videos for his picks in the world. I know his kids probably hate it when dad's like, "Okay, come on, it's time to film another commercial," but it hits every time. It's value, it's funny, it's entertaining. So please go check my guy out, man. He's definitely dedicated to his craft, and he's definitely good at this. He wouldn't be on the show if he wasn't. So again, follow the podcast at the Players Ball One on Twitter. Follow me at Roddy404 on Twitter. And then we're at the Players Ball Podcast on Instagram. And then I am Roddy404 on Instagram as well. Now, I know we've been delaying the entire, state of Louisiana coming on here to represent the Bengals because there are no real Bengals fans, let's be honest. But we will have that coming up for y'all on Saturday. So until tomorrow, man, we will talk to y'all later, man. Peace.
Peace.